So here's a little bit about our guest today, Dr. Stephen Sinatra. He is a board-certified cardiologist and an assistant clinical professor of medicine at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine in Farmington, Connecticut. Certified as a bioenergetic psychotherapist, a nutrition and anti-aging specialist, Dr. Sinatra integrates psychological, nutraceutical, and electroceutical therapies in the matrix of healing. He is the founder of HeartMDinstitute.com and drsinatra.com, which are informational websites dedicated to promoting public awareness of integrative medicine, as well as Vibrational.com, which is his actual food site, which is very cool. Dr. Sinatra is a fellow of the American College of Cardiology and the American College of Nutrition. Dr. Sinatra's latest book, co-authored by Tommy Rosa, is Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth. So without further ado, here's our guest today, Dr. Stephen Sinatra. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lifestyle Locker Radio. We have a returning guest, the superstar, Dr. Stephen Sinatra. So Steve, welcome. I'm super excited to have you.
Hey Josh, it's great to be here again. You know what I mean?
Exactly, right? Well, we have a lot to talk about. You know, we had a great conversation the first time, but I think we're going to dive deep and we're going to hit some people's hearts, because we're also going to start to talk a little bit about pets and their nutrition, because they're near and dear to our hearts. But let's talk about food, because we're eating food, even if it's organic. And you talked to me something pre-show about props. You said Prop 65, is it?
Right, yeah.
Right, which we'll get into it. I'll let you get into in a second. But there's a lot of things that people don't know about quality and the vibrational energy of food, which I know you're by far a huge expert in this field, being that you've been helping people for decades, right? Decades and decades. So give us a little bit of idea, you know, why would someone care about what their food vibrates like?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, being a heart specialist for over 4 decades and being in this healing business, I've learned by the hard way sometimes, by just convection, but basically what I've learned over the last 40 plus years of being a doctor is that the vibratory state of your cells is the key to life. I mean, look at it this way, Josh. Even prehistoric man knew that all pulsation, you know, that's what a heart depends on. If a heart doesn't pulsate, you're dead. Mm-hmm. And the heart was the center of life. So if we take the heart as a pulsatory activity, cells pulsate as well. So getting our cells to vibrate, in other words, take in nutrients, push out waste products. If those cells vibrate better, we're healthier. And then if cells vibrate better, tissues vibrate better, organs vibrate better, the whole organism vibrates. So I've always believed that vibration is the key to life. Now, can certain vitamins and minerals enhance vibration? Absolutely. Can foods enhance vibration? Sure they can. Can toxins diminish vibration? Absolutely. And we talked about the last conversation we had was grounding. One of the greatest aspects of putting your bare feet on the ground, just almost 2 years ago we talked about this, was that it enhances the vibratory nature of cells. In other words, you're absorbing electrons through your feet. And when you're doing that, you're driving ATP, or the energy of life, in a preferential direction. So I've always believed that vibration is the absolute key of life, whether you're grounding, whether you're taking in food, whether you're praying or meditating, or doing Tai Chi, you know, whenever you're working with vibration, you're healing.
Yeah. So I can tell you, since our last conversation, I would say almost daily, I'm barefoot in my yard.
Oh, that's great. That's absolutely wonderful.
Daily. Even in the winter, I'm the cold immersion guy too. So I'll walk in the snow and all that stuff barefoot, for minutes.
And where do you reside again?
Sorry?
Where is the state?
New York.
Oh, New York. Okay, great.
Yeah. So no, thank you for that. I've been doing that for ever since that conversation. I thought it was good before, but you really hook, line, and sinker. Why not do that daily?
I'll tell you, Josh, I don't know if we did this last time, but can you see that?
Leather shoes, yeah.
Leather shoes. You got to walk on leather. I sleep grounded. You know, I mean, I live in Florida for several months out of the year, and one of the reasons why I wanted to walk the beach every day. Grounded brings a lot to the table. We talked about that last time. But again, there's other ways that can enhance vibration of our cells in addition to grounding. So it it's almost like, you can take energies within, the ground energies, and you can take energies by eating as well. So healthy eating is a big aspect of high vibration living.
Yeah.
By the way, that's my next book. I mean, that's almost written now, and hopefully that'll be out in 2020.
Oh, great. So let's get a little bit into vibration. Are there certain frequencies? Are there certain things that people should be looking for in their foods? I mean, how do we know what's a high vibrational frequency food, which will bring our vibration, you said, up, and what's going to really diminish it? Like, what things do we want to cut out of our?
Well, the aspect of vibration. I mean, first, I just want to get into it a little scientifically. I mean, MIT researchers actually studied the vibratory nature of cells, and when they were looking at cells that were sick, when malaria-like organisms, for example, would penetrate a cell, what they noticed was that the vibration of the cell would go down. And what they reported on was that the ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy of life, in other words, ATP is what gives us our chi energy. It's what's, I'm able to talk to you right now because our body is making it.
Yeah.
It's dealing with the primes per second, and I think I mentioned this last time, but even the German war criminals of World War II, they knew how to shut off the endogenous production of ATP by taking a cyanide tablet, and that's why cyanide is so, it's so strong. It's an absolute killer because it knocks out what we call cellular respiration, and it does it quickly. It does it within seconds, So driving ATP in a preferential direction is the key to life. Now, how do you do that with, let's say, foods, and basically, if you can take in foods that aren't adulterated, that aren't, let's say, sequestered with a lot of chemicals, preservatives, or heavy metals, and like California Prop 65 is a nice standard to follow, particularly in vitamins and minerals. If you can take out the bad guys of, let's say, targeted nutritional supplements or foods, and if you eat more natural, more organic, this will increase the vibration of the food. And whenever you take a food in, that increases the vibration of the body. Now, let me say this. One of my biggest interests right now is these high vibrational waters. You've probably heard about them. There's waters that will infuse energy. There's deuterium depleted waters. There's Dr. Perricone has a water, for example. There's different machines where they can filter in oxygen through the water, and the water gets higher vibrational. And, a lot of us drink water on a daily basis. I see this in young women all the time. They're drinking water. You know what's going on, Josh? A lot of the times the water doesn't get into the cell. In other words, our cells are dehydrated, yet we're drinking water all the time. So the secret is actually getting inside the cell, and getting inside the cell will increase the vibration of the cell. So it's not just about food, it's about drink as well. And that's why water, I think, is going to be the new kid on the block coming forward, where these high vibrational waters are going to bring a lot to the table as well.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I've tested, what is it? Hydrogen water, is it? I think.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty neat stuff. Yeah. So, and I know with, I'll say thank you to you again on the, so everybody hears the products that you have yourself with Vibrational they're amazing.
Oh, thanks so much. That's
unbelievable. And I know we're going to talk about vibration, and I know the quality of food, like with people, we need to eat, right? That's human nature, right? We got to stay alive here. So when it comes to quality of food and finding certain, fats are very important in our diet, especially healthy fats. What makes, the products that you actually have so powerful? Because we're talking about vibration. Like what makes them so powerful?
Well, I actually talk about that in medical, lectures. I mean, first of all, if the product has any insecticide or pesticide in it, that will bring the vibration down. Certainly, if it has heavy metals, like lead and mercury, are very pervasive. They're in a lot of vitamins. They're in a lot of products, even mushroom products that have, the different types of mushrooms are very, very healthy for you. But some mushroom products are cut with excessive quantities of lead. So ideally, you want something that's insecticide-free, pesticide-free, lead-free. heavy metal free. Certainly mercury. Mercury is a mitochondrial toxin. And that's why eating a lot of fish, for example, that have high quantities of mercury, they get into the body. Aluminum is also a toxin. And I remember years ago, I was testing, mercury levels in the hair analysis, aluminum levels, you can, test them in the urine as well. And we have to be really privy that these heavy metals can accumulate in the body, and they cause the vibration of cells to go down. And whenever a vibration of a cell goes down, well, illness sets in. And a classic example is cancer, for example. I mean, even researchers have shown that where the vibration of the cells goes way down that the cell gets, taken over by carcinogenesis, and that's a problem. So basically, the cleaner you eat, in other words, the more natural a substance, without insecticide, pesticide, heavy metals, even BPA, bisphenol free, for example. I mean, a lot of jars and canned goods have bisphenol A in there. So getting rid of bisphenol A is very, very important. This is the lining of cans where they use this type of material, and I have to tell you, it's causing havoc with reproduction. And and one of the things, I go to conferences all the time, and male infertility and female infertility is a major problem going on in the USA. And they just found out, for example, that bisphenol A, which is in the lining of so many foods that we eat, is a big source of infertility. So, I mean, the list goes on. And as consumers, what we need to do is we need to eat healthier, but we have to become productive without being self-destructive. In other words, we got to read labels. We really got to take responsibility for our health. We have to realize what foods contain a lot of, GMOs or genetically modified, organisms. I mean, the list goes on, and the healthy consumer needs to be educated. And that's why I do these shows with you, because you educate the consumers. And once you empower the consumers to eat healthier, then I believe as a physician that the index of illness and symptomology goes down. And whenever that goes down, we become healthier as an organism. And again, if people eat healthy and practice good lifestyle habits, we talked about grounding briefly before, it fits my, 6 pillars of healing, which a healthy diet and certainly grounding are part of those 6 pillars of healing. And I preach about this all the time.
Yeah. So it's interesting with the quality of the food, like how much it can decrease the health, like your health so quickly. But it's also interesting, you mentioned, educating people and teaching people to eat healthier, to make better choices when they're purchasing foods or products. I think people vote with their dollars, right? Correct. So if they're buying these healthy products and they're buying these things that are really great for their health and their family's health, I think, that's the best way yourself and myself, we can get to the masses, is because if they're voting with their dollars, I vote my dollars every day, right? We all do. That means those companies that are providing garbage or poor quality to make a few extra dollars so they can cut costs or whatever it may be, why they're doing it. I don't know. Maybe they're just mentally sick. It drives me nuts that this stuff's legal. We fight them back, It would really affect it. Yeah, I mean, so I'm very grateful that you're a full-blown warrior in this world. I mean, from educating, from creating.
A lot of arrows in my back, Josh.
Yeah. Right, but you're a full-blown warrior in this wellness mission, in this wellness world, because you're creating content which is educational to the world, right? Thank God to the internet, right? We're having this conversation through who knows what, right? Technology. It's really cool. But you're able to get your message out. You're creating products that are safe for people to take, which have research behind it, which show that people can get healthy. And then we're going to talk about pets in a minute, how you can, if you feed the pets good food too, they will live longer too,
We'll give them coenzyme Q10. And, I did that with my dogs for years. But I'll tell you, Josh, eating healthy is really the key, and a lot of us really eat unhealthy. The other thing, too, is people don't know the synergism between nutrients. I mean, I've been involved with the vitamin and supplement industry for almost 40 years now. And one of the things about what we call phytonutrients that are found in foods, let me give you an example. Lycopene, which is a carotenoid, is found in the red tomato. And lycopene, when it's taken in the human body, it does remarkable things. It prevents the oxidation of LDL. I mean, I'm a heart specialist. And,
Yeah.
whenever you can prevent inflammation of blood vessels, I mean, that's music to my ears, right? So I was attracted to lycopene years ago, and that's one of the reasons why I got involved with pasta sauce. I mean, I'm from an Italian-Irish background, but my Sicilian grandfather used to make his own sauce, and basically, as a 70-year-old, he indoctrinated me to the benefits of olive oil, even as a young child, and marinara sauce, et cetera, et cetera. But where I'm going with this is that it's really crucial that we take in these ingredients that support health. Let me give you an example. I mean, I'm a male in my early 70s, for example, and prostate problems occur in males. Now, it used to be over the age of 50. Now it's over the age of 40. I have a feeling it has a lot to do with the heavy metals and the plastics in the environment. But basically, one of the things that I came across in my readings is that if you take in lycopene, from, let's say, crushed tomatoes or pasta sauce, this is very supportive for the prostate gland. Now, if you take in, let's say, an organic broccoli that contains sulforaphane, this is a bioflavonoid. Lycopene is a carotenoid, so now you mix in flavonoids of broccoli with the carotenoids of tomato. Now, when you take in this combination, instead of getting 2 + 2 = 4, this is what we call synergism in nutritional healing, where now you're taking two substances, two nutrients, but instead of getting 2 + 2 getting 4, you get like 2 + 2 = 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. In other words, they're synergistic. The properties of sulforaphane, for example, in broccoli, or indole 3-carbinol, which is found in broccoli, and the lycopene in tomato act synergistically, and what they do is they have remarkable healing tendencies. For example, it's combative against women with breast cancer. In other words, the combination of sulforaphane and lycopene helps to prevent that, as well as prostate cancer in a male. So this is how nutritional healing can be brought to the table, where you can mix these ingredients together. So in short, and for our listeners, whenever I have marinara sauce, I always cook organic broccoli at the same time. Whenever one of my relatives comes over to the house, she's a survivor of breast cancer, she's in her early 50s. Whenever she comes to the house with the grandkids, I always cook, organic broccoli and feed her marinara sauce at the same time, because I know this synergism as a nutritionist, this really works. And these foods can help your listeners so much. It's almost like taking targeted nutritional supports. One of the things that people are worried about today is cognition, memory, brain health. If you take turmeric, for example, and you mix it with resveratrol, these are two nutrients. Again, you get a synergistic response that's healing the brain. So there's so many ways we can, use nutrition in a way of healing the body. And I just wanted to mention that because you can take vitamins and minerals, you can ground, you get vitamin G. We talked about that, where you're getting,
of course.
Or you can eat healthy combinations of foods and rocket your nutrition to, an incredible level.
Yeah, so this is really neat. So this is increasing your that vibrational frequency that we're talking about by
Correct.
doing all of this and doing it in these combinations. So I know you mentioned 2 combinations. Do you have a list or like of all of these things? Or is this in this book that's coming out? Of these.
Actually, this book that I'm writing right now, High Vibrational Living, will have these combinations, these easy to do things. I mean, another one is natural sunlight. I mean, people don't realize how healing natural sunlight is. You realize how many people go out in the sun and they're covering their body with sunblock? First of all, these sunblocks contain, a lot of them are carcinogenic. They actually can increase the incidence of skin cancer. And unless you've been taking, what the lifeguards used to wear in their noses. Remember years ago?
Yeah, the colored zinc.
Zinc, zinc oxide, for example.
Yeah.
It blocks the UV light, but I guess women didn't want to look like a clown, or they didn't want to put it on their kids. But that's the real deal. But what's happening today? A lot of these topical solutions are micronized, and they get absorbed into the bloodstream, and this is not good for the body. So basically, what we need to do is we got to be privy to these aspects of healing. But if you go out in the sun, 15 to 30 minutes a day of natural sunlight, you're going to absorb a lot of vitamin D. And vitamin D is crucial. It's absolutely crucial for healing. And, when I see these kids getting sprayed by sunblocks and all these things, I just worry about it. Look, shade is good. Hats are good. Umbrellas at the beach are good. Mm-hmm. If you want to use the zinc oxides, I'm all in. But a lot of these sunblocks, can be injurious to the body as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad you brought this up. I've been running a lot. I've been outdoors quite a bit, like hours at a time. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of sunblocks. Like, I think they're the same. I agree with you 100%. I think they're horrible for the human, and I don't get burnt, even though I'm in like blazing sun for a long time. People are like, how do you not get burned? I go, it's not that I just went from 0 sun to 2 hours in the sun running. If I did that, I would look like a lobster and probably have, right, layers of skin. But I've built up my ability to work and be in the sun, that my body, I don't turn like dark. My body adapts. And it's really neat to have that over this year. Normally I would get, I'm not proud of it, but I would get burnt from time to time being in the sun, but not being a weekend warrior in the sun. Like you said, being outside consistently is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely huge.
It can have a lot of healing in it, so it's good. Getting sunlight is very, very healing. Sunlight every day is very good. Again, that's going to be in high vibrational living. I just bring it out. A lot of cures are so simple. One of the books I was going to write was God's Simple Cures. Healthy water, healthy sunlight, healthy food, healthy ground, vitamin G from the ground. There's so many things people can do to achieve optimum health. And it's not rocket science. It's so simple.
I know. I think I had a conversation with someone earlier today about, the body is such an amazing organism. It's not a machine. I hate when people use the word machine, because it's got this intelligence that we can, if we're given the right things, we remove interferences to bad things. We could heal from, as far as I'm concerned, I think we could heal from anything.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Actually, our mindset's very important. Having a positive attitude, seeing your cup is half full as opposed to half empty, and thinking positive thoughts, and not dwelling on negative thoughts or dread or being a victim. These are such important aspects of healing. This is the emotional aspects or the mind-body aspects of healing. And, it's important to bring that into conversation as well. Yeah,
I think that's so neat. Can you also, I want you to talk about in nutrition-wise, because in some of the emails back and forth before the call, I want you to talk a little bit about like your olive oil, the quality differences between people going to buy olive oil and their health. I've read quite a bit on olive oil at this point. I don't know what got into me, but it's become much more and more interesting. And for health reasons. So give us some reasons why olive oil is an important part of a diet, but also like the differences. Like if I were to buy it at a grocery store, just to find the cheapest one versus.
That's well said, Josh. I'll tell you this. I think olive oil is one of the most healing aspects you can put into your body. And the literature and the research suggests it. First of all, let's look at the Mediterranean basin. The Mediterranean basin includes, countries like Spain. Portugal is a little bit adjacent to it. Certainly France, the island of Crete, Italy, and it goes all around into Israel, into the nations of Northern Africa. But in that Mediterranean basin, you find more 100-year-old or centenarians in the entire world. And the Mediterranean basin has just passed in the recent analysis of longevity. The Okinawans, a typical Okinawan in Japan, lives about 70 years longer than a typical American. Now think about that. Average American is 79 and average Okinawan is 86. Now, Spain and Portugal have just surpassed that. And again, the more 100-year-old people live in the Mediterranean basin. I believe the common denominator is olive oil. Olive oil is the secret sauce of the Mediterranean diet. I'll say that again. It's the secret sauce of the Mediterranean diet. There is no doubt about it. And even a pre-med study that was, done by, Spanish investigators. And Dr. Gonzalez, I actually invited them to the American College of Nutrition conference, and I spoke with him. But one of the things about the pre-med study is that they took groups of people and they put them on the American Heart Association diet. They put one group on nuts, because nuts have a lot of what we call monounsaturated fats, and certain nuts are very good for you. There's no doubt about it. And they put another group on 4 tablespoons of olive oil a day. Think about that, Josh. That's a lot of olive oil. 4 tablespoons a day. So you would probably go through a small bottle in maybe about 10 days, 12 days. So by ingesting olive oil versus, the monounsaturated fats and nuts versus a typical Heart Association diet, the olive oil group and the people on nuts did far better in the American Heart Association diet in terms of cancer, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, you name it. And basically, when I saw this data, and there was over about almost a 5-year period, it was about 7,800 people. So the number of the study participants was large. That was a real head turner. And I was looking at olive oil as the secret sauce. And then around that time, when the literature was coming out, there was a study done that showed that olive oil changed gene expression. And then out of the Biogenome Project that was discovered, the Nobel Prize was won in 1993 by these Nobel researchers, but we've learned about the Biogenome Project in probably the last 20 years or so. What we've learned is that olive oil can take pro-inflammatory genes, which we all have, by the way, and turn them around to a non-inflammatory state. Think about that. We all have inflammation in the body, and inflammation is the root cause of illness, especially heart disease, my specialty. So if you can take our pro-inflammatory genes and turn them around to a non-inflammatory state by drinking olive oil or using it in the diet, that's a no-brainer. And when I read that article, I realized, I said, that's the reason why olive oil is the secret sauce of the Mediterranean diet. So I started to develop my own olive oils. And I started doing this several years ago. Now, I didn't want to go to Europe because, as you know, a lot of the European olive oils are cut with canola oil. I don't know if you know this or not.
No, I did not.
Basically, 60 Minutes did a show on this a few years ago. But many of the European olive oils, if they have 75% extra virgin olive oil on the label, they can have up to 25% of canola oil, which is a lot less expensive, in the olive oil, and it can be declared, Josh, 100% extra virgin, despite the fact that it's only 75% extra virgin. Okay?
Wow.
So this is a disaster in my mind because, look, canola oil is good for machines. It's not good for humans. It's a pro-inflammatory oil. So the California Growers Council, out in California, will certify your olive oil as 100% extra virgin. And that's why I had my olive oil over the last several years. I've been making olive oils for the last, maybe 6-7 years. Over the last several years, my olive oils come from California. They're certified extra virgin. They are organic. And basically, I just feel that the constituents of olive oil, now there's a lot of antioxidants in olive oil. There's hydroxytyrosol, for example, oleopurin. And these antioxidants bring a lot to the table because they create the healing in the body where you're preventing free radical oxidative stress. And you're also not only taking, let's say, small particle LDL, which is very, very injurious, to the cardiovascular system. You're making it more fluffier. You're changing HDL. You're lowering blood pressure. You're actually changing the dynamics of cholesterol and triglycerides in the body with olive oil. And that's why I think, as a heart specialist, this is why olive oil brings a lot to the table. It works on the biochemistry, but it also takes those pro-inflammatory genes and turns them around. So I am all in on olive oil when it comes to our health.
Yeah, I think it's
your constituents and my patients should be too.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty amazing, and it's a food, which is so cool. And that's something I didn't know, is that pro and anti-inflammatory, or pro and non-inflammatory aspect of it. That's really, really powerful. So now I don't feel so bad after having a salad, and my wife looks at me like I have, like 6 heads when I pick up the bowl and drink the apple cider vinegar and the olive oil out of it.
Oh, that's a good combination. Sure, that's a great combination.
So that's what
cider vinegar as well. That's good.
So that's pretty neat, and I hope the audience make sure you definitely want to head over and check out Vervana.com. I'm going to put all details in the show notes for you. But his Dr. Sinatra's oils and marinara sauce are out of this world. You have to give them a shot at least once, which I don't think once is going to be enough, but you're going to have to give them a shot. But also, when we get into health, and we mentioned earlier, we'll talk about, our 4-legged friends, our pets.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Right. I'd love to talk about, you created I'm not sure you and your wife, or both of you probably, right? Created, agelesspaws.com. I mean, you have such a passion for animals as well. Tell us a little bit about why you created this company or this website, and what it stands for and what you do with it.
Josh, when I was a young boy, my mom and dad used to have pets. And unfortunately, I take 3 dogs in as well when I was a young teenager. I grew up with, cats and dogs, so to speak, on Long Island. Then when I became a cardiologist, James Lynch and I used to talk a lot. He was a PhD from Baltimore. And he wrote the Broken Heart book. And I also went through a psychotherapy training program where I realized how emotions and heart disease are connected. So Dr. Lynch and I used to have conversations. And he and I he did some research, and I stumbled upon other research showing that if you had a heart attack, my specialty, and you came home to a loving pet, like a dog, who loves you unconditionally, like your dog, for example, will love you no matter whatever you do, especially if you give that love back. Well, if you come home from a heart attack to that loving dog, your incidence of sudden death or recurrent heart attack is 400% lower by coming home to a loving pet. It's unbelievable, because you're getting like a vibrational, unconditional love that is healing to the body. Now, if you come home to a judgmental spouse, or if you come home to an empty house, like, the little loneliness, this triggers, more complications and earlier death rates. I mean, depression is a major significant risk factor for the heart. So if a 4-legged friend keeps you less depressed and keeps you more involved, this is very, very important. So when I learned about this as a heart specialist, I surrounded myself with dogs again. I had 2 chows. I bought them as very young puppies, like 6 weeks old. I bought an elk hound at 8 weeks old. And I had 3 dogs, and I love these dogs. And basically, since I was, a researcher on CoQ10, and I did research on CoQ10 and the animal model, I started to give my dogs CoQ10 at a very early age. And they lived to like 15. I mean, chows lived to about 15. My elk hound was almost 16. So they lived a few years longer than their counterparts, and I always attributed it to coenzyme Q10. So as a heart specialist, I realized how much pets bring to the table. So that's why I created Ageless Paws. Because Ageless Paws, we all love our pets, whether it's a horse, a dog, a cat, who cares? I mean, pets can bring so much to the table. So what I wanted to give back, to the pet industry, is I wanted to develop targeted, not only supplements. We have like a liquid CoQ10 oil substance that we give dogs and cats, but I wanted to get treats. So I found a sustaining facility that has these treats that, without preservatives, without heavy metals, without any garbage in there. And in these treats, I chose treats like like bison, for example. American bison, you can't use hormones in them, so they're hormonal free. So I use bison heart. I used turkey heart. Turkey heart has one of the highest quantities of coenzyme Q10. So if you eat like turkey heart, that's very pure, in a treat, and the dogs love them, now they're getting natural CoQ10 in the body. I use chicken and salmon. Salmon, for example, not only has nitric oxide in its flesh, but it also has coenzyme Q10. So these treats, whether it's salmon or bison or chicken, it doesn't matter. Chicken livers, for example, are very high in CoQ10. So I developed these treats, as well as other, varietals for pets, because I want to give pets a lot back, because pets gave me a lot in my life. And as a heart healer, I realized that pets bring an enormous amount to the table, an enormous amount. So I'm all in on pets.
That's great. I have a question.
Healing the human as a way of healing, people as well.
That's so neat and so great. So let me ask you this question. Mentioned like turkey liver, bison heart, chicken livers that are very high in CoQ10s. And I've actually spoken to another cardiologist, and he said one of the missing links in the human diet is we used to eat, generations ago, like organ meat was a normal thing. Right. So would you would that be also something, I know we want to give it to our pets, but would that also be something that would be great for humans?
Well, if humans wanted to eat human heart, that's probably be a tough thing to do, but humans can eat, organic calf's liver, for example, which is loaded in CoQ10. Organ meats have CoQ10. Remember, the highest quantities of CoQ10 is in heart. Hearts have the most mitochondria of any organ. The second largest organ that contains mitochondria is the kidney. And it's interesting, the kidney makes carnitine in our body. So when we have people with renal insufficiency, not only is the kidney being compromised in CoQ10, but also carnitine as well. So if people wanted to eat organ meats, it's okay with me. I have no problem with it. But remember, animal flesh contains the highest quantities of CoQ10. So if you ate like organic bison or organic, let's say, or free-range chicken or free-range steak or lamb, that contains a lot of CoQ10. One thing about lamb is the highest source of carnitine in the body as well. So I prefer, lamb is usually organic or free-range, and because they're sacrificed at a young age. But basically, lamb brings a lot of carnitine to the table. Certainly, beef brings a lot of CoQ10, and this is why that, my preferred way of eating is about 80% vegetarian and 20% animal. I think if people eat steak every day or meat every day, I don't like that. I really don't, because I feel that the vegetarian kingdom brings more to the table. But pure vegetarians are lacking in CoQ10. I have to tell you, Josh, I have drawn, hundreds, if not thousands, of coenzyme Q10 levels in my patients. And my patients with the lowest CoQ10 levels were vegetarians. And several of these patients had heart disease or cardiomyopathy. I remember two women, I'll never forget this. It was so frightening. They were both in their 50s. They both had breast cancer, and they both had heart disease at the same time. And when I checked their CoQ10 levels, they were like negligible. It was unbelievable. And it's very rare that you see two life-threatening illnesses in the same patients. But they had, the pathology of heart disease and breast cancer. And they were both Asian women, by the way, which was kind of interesting because, again, they ate pure vegetarian and vegan at the same time.
Huh, that's interesting. And you mentioned nitric oxide, I think, in like salmon.
Right. Yeah.
What's the deal with nitric oxide? Why is it good? Like, because you mentioned it, but it's got to be good if it just came out of your mouth. So why is nitric?
Well, the Nobel Prize was won on it, and you can take nitric oxide like these beet supplements that one of my colleagues does from Texas, and they're good. But there's a lot of foods that contain nitric oxide, and certainly seafood The migratory salmon, for example, is a source of nitric oxide, and that coenzyme Q10 the same way. Nitric oxide is found in the vegetable kingdom as well. Kale is a great source of nitric oxide, for example. So I feel if you eat, a lot of vegetarian type foods, and you combine it with nitric oxide supporting foods, like migratory salmon, certainly we can, shrimp is another category that contains a little bit of nitric oxide. And a lot of these, like salmon, shrimp, and lobster, they have this red color to them, Josh. You've seen the pink red color. Let's look at migratory salmon. The flesh is pink, Yeah. They contain a carotenoid called astaxanthin. And I got to tell you, Josh, I didn't know what astaxanthin was until about 12 years ago. I was flown out to Japan to lecture on coenzyme Q10. Because the Japanese are very privy to coenzyme Q10. They use it more than the Americans. And I flew out to Japan, and I was lecturing at this conference. And there was a health show going on at the same time. And one of the booths, the people that were there, they had this carotenoid from Hawaii and Japan called astaxanthin, astaxanthin. And I said, what is that? And this is like 12 years ago. Like I said, I'm always learning, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I realized back at the conference, it was a very potent carotenoid that's 50 times more powerful in vitamin E, 17 times more powerful in pycnogenol, 30 times more powerful in vitamin E. But wait a minute, why did I know about this? This is an unbelievable, type of carotenoid that, is very medicinal. So, when I learned about that, astaxanthin, I ended up putting it in one of my supplements at Healthy Directions because I wanted to have astaxanthin mixed with seaweeds, for example, because seaweeds, I think, bring a lot to the table as well. So, I made a supplement, called Vitali C, because one thing astaxanthin does, and by the way, since my visit to Japan 12 years ago, I did a computer research, study on astaxanthin. Josh, there's 1,400 articles out in the medical literature. I mean, this is huge, and so if people can get it in lobster, crab, and shrimp, this red carotenoid, it's really good, or you can take it as a supplement. And that's why I just feel astaxanthin is one supplement that if I was stranded on a desert island, I wouldn't mind a few cases of astaxanthin like coenzyme Q10 be washed ashore. I mean, I really think that nutrient brings a lot to the table. And the literature supports not only eye health, but brain health, heart health. And for your women listeners, astaxanthin is fantastic, for the skin, as is coenzyme Q10. So for healthy aging, I really like the combination of astaxanthin and coenzyme Q10 together.
Oh, it's interesting. That's interesting. This is the first time I'm hearing that. I don't want to try saying it right now, but astaxanthin.
Astaxanthin, you got it.
There we go.
Got it.
So that's pretty neat. So we have what's the next chapter in life? I mean, you're helping people and you're constantly learning, like you said, you're helping pets. What's next?
What's next? Well, pets, horses, people, the equine, the canine, cats. I think what's next is the spiritual connection.
Yeah.
One of the things that I learned at a very young age, maybe in my mid or late 40s, I realized that people get sick if they get out of touch, with their physical, emotional, and spiritual energies. And the reason why I bring spirit to the table is because, when I met Tommy Rosa, did I talk about Tommy Rosa on my last show with you?
I don't think so.
It's amazing. But about 7 years ago, I was on a TV show, and Tommy contacted me. He was a plumber from New York City, Josh, and he was run over by a car, and he went to heaven and back. He had a life after death experience, and I go to the life after death conferences. I've been going to this conference in Montreal for the last 10 years, where all the researchers from the country, Ray Moody, all these people from all over the world, they talk about the near-death experience. And Tommy's near-death experience had a profound impact on me because he went to heaven and back and saw what he told us what he saw in heaven and stuff like that. And it was a big impact on me. So I think the combination of spiritual energy. Now, a lot of people aren't ready for spiritual energy. It takes a while to really redirect our physical and emotional energies. But once you can get your physical and emotional energies in sync, and if you're open to the spiritual aspects of life, once you allow that energy into the body, now you have the trinity of spiritual, emotional, and physical. And once you have that blended into the body, I think that's when the real healing takes place. I mean, I got to tell you, I have met people who were off their spiritual track, and I know this sounds crazy, but these people developed an illness in their life, whether it was heart disease or cancer. And I asked some of these people who are very, very enlightened and intelligent, I said, well, why do you think you got heart disease at this time in your life? Or why do you think you got cancer? And some of my patients, and by the way, Josh, being a patient versus a doctor, patients can be great messengers for the doctor. They can offer a lot of material to a doctor where a doctor can take that material on and help heal other people. So even though we're doctors, we're learning all the time.
Yeah.
And some of my patients gave me these great insights. They would say to me, I think I developed cancer or heart disease so I would develop my spiritual self, and when you hear this over and over again and you see these patients heal themselves, and then when Tommy Rosa and I wrote the book, Health Revelations from Heaven, I just feel blessed as a practitioner, as a doctor, that I believe that I have come into the full circle of now developing not only the physical and the emotional energies, but developing that spiritual insight. And I think that this is the holy trinity of healing the human body. So
that's
for any of the listeners that want to bring spirit into their life, prayer, meditation, whatever it is, belief in God, belief in Jesus Christ, whatever your listeners want to do, I just feel that this is very, very healing and can help prevent lower energy, lower vibration, and basically prevent illness as well.
Yeah, and I get to speak to, as a podcaster, I get to speak to lots of people. And what I find very interesting, just being, what you were just saying, is that I find that a lot of the people that I get to have conversations with have had some pretty crazy tragedies in their life, health-wise, physical-wise, emotionally. And when it becomes so severe that they're forced to make some kind of change, mental, physical, spiritual, something, that's when a lot of growth happens. It's like tragedy to triumph. It's really interesting. And I know you're saying that with your patients, but I see that with people hear that from people that I get to interview.
I just got the angelic chill on that. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Josh, the angels are rooting for us. And you said it. In other words, when people have these horrific situations happen in their life, the angels want us to get back into the spiritual domain, and they're rooting for us, and they're trying to help heal us. But when people have these maladies in their life or these tragic events, the way you said it so eloquently, I got the angelic chill, meaning I had this little chill in my body where the angels were telling me what Josh was just talking about is the truth. So if you ever develop a little chill as you're talking, it's almost like your spiritual messages around you. Remember, our energy field goes out several feet, but there's an ethereal field out there that's quite large. And I believe that the spiritual domains are talking to us all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get it as an insight. Sometimes a person will feel a little flicker below their nose. Sometimes, you'll get it in a dream, where, the angelic realm is talking to us. I mean, I got to tell you, as a physician, I'm going to chill again. As a physician, I really believe in the spiritual realm because it's just, without it, life is just too shallow and and very predictable in a way. Once you bring the spiritual realm in, all things change.
Yeah, so I mean, let's come full circle. So I mean, we started off talking about vibration and energy, that even down to like the atomic, we said cellular level, but even down to that atomic level. So life is motion, and the better energy that we have in all of these different areas, from, we said, the food we're eating, to the movement, to being in nature, to being around our, when I say pets could be nature, I mean, right? We're around
nature,
right? We're around, like, you're getting that unconditional love, getting sun, to the spiritual side. I mean, all of these things are designed, or by design, if you will, right? Or there to help lift our elevation. And I think it's our own doing that, us as a society, as, I mean, the U.S. alone, I mean, we make some choices based off of fear, based off of, unfortunately, paying attention to very, very brilliant marketing minds, to eat poorly, to neglect our lives, to spend, hours and hours a day on social media instead of being with the people we love and care about. So I mean, your message is big. This is not like something that's little that we're talking about.
Well, I feel humble I could say that, but, I think it's true. I mean, one of the things that heart specialists, I've dealt with 20 life after death experiences, and Tommy Rosa's was the most profound. But you've heard about the tunnel of light. Had anybody ever mentioned that?
I may have heard it, of course, I think, but
I mean, if you really look at that, what the tunnel of light is, when a person, see, we're in the third dimension on Earth, so to speak. But when you go to heaven, you have to go to a higher dimension. In order to get to that higher dimension, a lot of these people go through a tunnel where it's actually a tunnel of light. And it's actually that higher vibration, because we're talking about vibration is really the key to optimum health, but it's also the key to spiritual enlightenment as well. Because when you go through that tunnel, you are going to a higher vibration. You had to go through the tunnel to get to the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th vibration of the heavenly realm. And that's, that's the mystery. But again, all these life after death experiences, and I'll tell you, that conference I go to in Canada, in Montreal every August, it's really unbelievable. I mean, I have to tell you, some of the things I've heard there, like, at first you think that it's crazy, but then after you're there and after you hear it again over and over again over periods of years, you assimilate it into the body, and you absolutely believe what's going on. And Josh, people, like, their belief is what they can see, feel, and touch. There's a lot out there that we can't see, feel, and touch, that we have to use our intuitive and our spiritual minds and in our belief systems. And I think it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that conversation, because if we just look at the human body, right? If a dead human body and a live human body, all the parts are still there.
Right, exactly.
The liquids are still there. There's that life, there's that spark, there's something that keeps us, we're having this conversation, right?
Right.
So there's something that's amazing about the human body. Whatever anybody wants to call it doesn't make a difference to me. I think that you're recognizing that there's something bigger, than you, is powerful. And that same energy that goes through the body, that spark will allow for, the diminishing of the spark will allow for sickness, disease, death, all of these layers of bad to happen. But they also can have layers of good on the other side.
Exactly.
Right. So it's pretty neat. I'm glad we, kind of went off the side here a little bit, because I think this is important to realize that, you can be a cardiologist, a chiropractor, a podcaster, and you can have real conversations and understand that there's something bigger. But while we're here now, there are a lot of good things that need to be done to help society, but also we have so much that this world has to use to help increase our vibration naturally, in a great way. It's good to build relationships this way. It's good for your health. So.
Well said. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, is once we increase our vibration in our body, just like those MIT researchers showed, once the vibration of cells go up, we can keep disease out of our presence.
Yeah.
And again, that vibration is a spiritual, emotional / mental, physical. bring that vibration together. We all have optimal health.
Awesome. So Steve, this is a really cool conversation. I'm really really
Great.
glad we got to have this. Really glad, I'm glad we got to connect again. I think you're, it's a blessing to have you around because you bring a lot to the table. You have, decades of knowledge, and I'm so grateful that I get to pick your mind and have these conversations and share you with our audience and the world. Because I just found out recently that we're downloaded in 57 countries.
Oh, so, nice.
So it's really cool that you get, I get to help bring you more places, right? Planetary travel at this point.
If we can heal a few people in the world, that's what it's all about.
Exactly. So the best places for people to find you, right? I have Vervana.com, agelesspause.com. Where else?
drsinatra.com.
drsinatra.com.
That's my vitamin and mineral company that I help you direct it. But Vervana and Ageless Pause are also, and heartmdinstitute.com. That's sort of a non-commercial website. A ton of information on there, Josh. I should have mentioned it before. heartmdinstitute.com is pages and pages of information.
Great, because I want to make sure that people can find you. You do have a gift. I'm going to share that in the show notes and the comments below. But I believe you are giving a little bit of a coupon for people for Vervana for your first time. We're getting a 15%.
Oh yeah.
Right?
People in Vervana did that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the code is HANT15. So my last name HANT, and then the number 15 will give you that as well. And you also can also get a sample from Ageless Pause. So I want to thank you so much for that. That's grateful for that. I know my wife will be increasing your stock with Ageless Pause.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
And remember, the pasta is high protein. So you won't get an insulin. In other words, you don't get a really incredible insulin response you get with semolina pastas. High protein pasta is like eating a small steak or a large hamburger.
Exactly. We love it. So I appreciate you. And
all right, Josh.
Stephen, Dr. Sinatra, thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Hey, I want to thank you so much for listening to Dr. Sinatra on this episode of Lifestyle Locker Radio. Holy cow, what a cool dude. From vibrational energy to healing to health to food, holy cow, to love, right? All of this cool stuff. What a brilliant human being. This guy's had generations of life behind him and learning, and I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon. So we're glad to have him as part of our family as well here at Lifestyle Locker Radio. If you want some details and discounts, right, you can head over to Vervana.com and put in the code HANT, H-A-N-D-T, 15 to get 15% off your order at Vervana.com. I can tell you the food is pretty amazing. I love the olive oil. I have tons of it. There's that, and all these other details, connections, and links will be in the show notes, from his YouTube channel to his social media and everything else. Also, you can connect with us. We'd love that as well. If you haven't yet left a 5-star review on iTunes, I would greatly appreciate it. Dr. Sinatra would appreciate it too, because it helps get his message out there as well. So have a great day, evening, or night from wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Bye-bye.